All right, Shalom. First and foremost, only of all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, peace and salutations. Salutations unto the Akim, to the women, and to the children. All right, the believer just scattered across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth out in faith, in all sincerity. I'm Brother Shamala from GMS Houston Camp, and this is going to be a scripture of the day lesson. All right, going into Proverbs, 15 and 1. All right, and this lesson is entitled, a soft answer. Because we're going to be put in a lot of situations. We surrounded by demonic people, bro, and things are going to happen to where situations might get heated, you know, and you got to know how to handle that. Okay, we cannot be hot headed in this truth, and want to prove a point, to somebody. All right, you want to prove that you're tough, okay, or prove them wrong, right? They may have said something to you, or might call you. Let's just say, for an example, somebody calls you weak or something like that. Now you want to prove that you ain't. Now you want to fight them, right? None of that matters, all right? You know, we what they call it, conflict resolution. We should work on those and have those types of skills, all right? Because we're gonna be in situations like that with each other. When things are heated, right? When arguments happen or whatever, you gotta know how to handle these situations effectively. Okay, according to the scriptures, all right, according to righteousness, all right, things have to be dealt with in a specific manner. But like I said, in this world too, you gotta know how to diffuse situations. All right, you can't, because the saying the wrong thing, right, can blow the situation up, and you will be in a terrible situation and a terrible predicament that could have been avoided all just by a few words. All right, know how to handle it. So yeah, I'll just start here in Proverbs 15 and 1. It says, a soft answer, turneth away wrath. Right. So speaking softly, that ain't saying you gotta have a Michael Jackson tone to your voice, or something like that, right? That ain't what that's saying. You know, you can still be a man when you're talking. You still speak sternly or whatever. But it just the words that you do say is what matters. All right. In a particular situation, instead of adding fire, to it, right, or gasoline, to that fire, right. Hey, my bad, man. I ain't see it like that, but hey, now I got it. All right, or my bad, bro. I ain't even mean it like that. I see where you coming from, bro. My bad, bro. Just it's just some little stuff like that. You can't have too much ego, right, to apologize to somebody, especially when you in the wrong. Especially, okay. But you just gotta learn how to diffuse situations. You don't have to, you know, um, try to get in a tongue wrestling match with somebody, right? He said this, and then you just going back and forth, basically. All right, and that can turn into things. Shit like that can be avoided. Okay, but it says, but a soft answer turn away wrath. So you speaking in that manner, all right, could calm. It will calm that person down, basically. All right, because like I said, you're not adding fuel to that fire for them to continue and to get worse and worse. You know, a simple apology like that, right? You just make that person like, chill out. All right, hey man, you apologize. So hey man, it's good, bro. It's all good, man. Things will happen. All right, just you don't want to have a big ass ego to where you cannot do that. To where you feel like you got to be, bigger and badder, right? Or just falling victim to the flesh, because the flesh wants you to act up. right? But what does scripture say? That a carnal mind is enmity with the Most High, right? And it's as death. But it says, but grievous words stir up anger. All right. So, getting on their level and matching their energy, that's going to make the situation worse and it's going to blow up in your face. And you don't want that to happen. All right. Now, that's not saying, you just let people walk all over you. All right. You just let people do you any type of way. But when conflict happens, try your best to avoid it first. All right. And whatever has to happen just has to happen. The Lord ordained for it to happen. But you still need to know how to handle these types of situations and what to do, and all of that. Okay. But it says, but grievous words stirred up anger. So basically what the scripture is saying, based how you respond to a situation can either make it good or bad. So before you speak, you need to think about what you say. Carefully think about what you say and how do you respond to things. Do this really need to be said? Right? Do I need to respond like this? I guess that's what you need. That's what you need to understand as well. I remember the Elder Ariala was here some years ago, and basically said that you can't control what people do or say to you, but you can respond. You can control how you respond in certain situations. And he was like, nobody made you mad. You made you mad because you took these thoughts in and you processed them and you decided, I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off. All right. And you can be mad about a situation, but still you can still control the outcome, how you respond to it. This is James 1:19. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. So we got to be slow to wrath, right? You can't go 0 to 100. All right. It says slow to wrath. So, like I said, the situation 9 out of 10, you should be able to like diffuse that. All right, and just avoid it. I mean, but sometimes it it might be necessary for you to to get there. To be extremely stern, to get your point across, or maybe even if somebody even try to put hands on you, you're gonna have to defend yourself. All right, but we're not like Jake and how they call them the the YNs and all of that in the world, right? To where they just willing to crash out over little things that could have been talked about. All right, or just willing to fight because they think somebody looking at them wrong. Or just little situations like that, right? So we're not having wrath because wrath that can that can basically take a situation, bro, and just make it out of control. All right, and that's Jake in the world. They operate in wrath. All right, because it says, "For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of the Most High." It can't be wrathful because people get in this mind state and they take lives over this. People get their lives taken over a wrathful person, right? That you can't talk to. They ain't got no type of sense. All right, you can't deal with them, and there's lots of people like this in the world. Okay, so we got to watch how we move and how we act, right? And the people that we surround ourselves, with. All right. Sirach 28:11. Hasty contention kindleth the fire, and a hasty fighting shedded blood. So a hasty contention, right? You're quick to get into an argument. You shouldn't be that. All right. We should, like I said, we should carefully think out our responses and how we should respond to a situation through the spirit. All right. Got to analyze certain things because there's many times where somebody will say something to me, and I can to myself be pissed off about it and thinking like, damn, but this person said this to me, man, this and that. And then you find out that they ain't even mean it like that. And that all can be just solved just by talking about it. Hey man, I mean, you said this and that. Hey, what you mean by that, man? What you then the person gives you some insight. Oh, okay. Oh man, I was thinking this. Man, I'm tripping. Okay. Even if a person do even if a person do mean something, it's a way to correct somebody, without offending them. All right. Somebody says something about you. Hey, bro, hey, that's how you feel, man. Hey, it's all good, man. You know, like it's many things. Somebody disagree with you on something. You know, hey, that's just the way you view things. It's fine. I understand why you would say that and why you look at it like that, but I don't look at it like that. But it's all good. It ain't nothing that we need to argue over or fight over, nothing like that. It's straight. It ain't even that. It ain't even that big of a deal, man. It's all good. Situation solved, right? You see, but it says, and he hasty fight and shedded blood. So you hasty to get into a fight because it's like, bro, fighting is not like because when you're in school, you had those fights, and those fights be quick or 30 seconds or whatever. Somebody come break it up, right, bro? Like even back then, when you fight, men fought like to the death. Like it was like shit. This is shit. I might, you might die. All right, get into a fight with somebody. So you got to be ready to take it there. You don't know what might happen. That's why it should be avoided at all costs if possible, right? You know, but if we ain't even to be blamed for the situation, if we walk in the court to the spirit, the Most High gonna be on outside in situations like that, right? But if you're a person that's full of wrath, bro, the Most High ain't dealing with that, and you can cause yourself, to get up out of here, be in the spiritual world somewhere. So if thou blow the spark, it shall burn. So if you blow the spark, that motherfucker gonna burn. You add that fuel to it, hey, that fire gonna light up. All right, based off what you say. So you gotta be careful. So if thou spit upon it, it shall be quenched. And both of these come out thy mouth. So both of these situations, all right, comes from how you respond, how you say things. So you just gotta know that based on how I respond, this situation can either blow up, all right, or it can be peaceful. It can be all good. It can be, peacefully handled. All right. This is Sirach 28 and 25. And weigh thy words in a balance and make a door and a bar for thy mouth. So weigh thy words in a balance. Weigh your words. I mean, carefully consider the things that you're saying and that you're about to say. Right? The things, your thoughts, right? And all of that. You got to consider this and weigh them out. Right? Does this need to be said in this moment? Am I tripping? Is this the right response? Let's weighing it out. And make a door and a bar for thy mouth, right? It's like you lock a door, you got to put a lock on your mouth and only open it when need be. All right. James 3:3. Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth that they may obey us in return about their whole body, right? To control the horse, right? And it's just it's a small object that's put in their mouth to control a much bigger, right, thing or bigger animal. Behold, also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whatsoever the governor listeneth. So a person that's steering the ship, they got a little small little, they say a helm, right? To steer this ship, right? Something so small is controlling this. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasted great things. Behold, how great a little fire kindleth. All right, so the tongue is small and boasted great things. And meaning, bro, you can get yourself in some things, into some situations based off of the things that you say. All right, you got a lot of prideful people, a lot of boastful people. Things that they can say can stir up things. All right, all right. It says it will kindle a fire. All right, scripture also says there's life and death in the tongue. It says, in the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. so is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body and setteth on fire the course of nature, and is set on fire of hell. Right? Meaning this could, the things you can say can fuck up everything. It could just, bro, it can be just so destructive, right? And nothing good can come out of it. So you got to be careful, right? You got to control it. Control what you say. You can control that. All right. Like I said, we shouldn't be hot headed, and saying disrespectful things to people, because we should respect everyone. Like the scripture say, if it be possible, be at peace with all men. Okay. You shouldn't be saying, disrespectful things, getting straight to, calling men out of their name, calling them bitches and whole. What you think gonna happen if you do that, bro? What you think gonna happen? All right. So don't seek conflict. Don't seek fights. Right? Don't seek arguments. But when these things come to you, you have to handle them with wisdom. All right. So that's the lesson. I was just edifying. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.